Hey, everybody, coming up on today's podcast, we have a plethora of new information to get out to all of you guys. We're going to start with a little bit of Toyota news coming into what we call the compact pickup, easy for you to say, world. Shell, we talked about this before on previous podcasts. They are expanding what they can do for you. Hydrogen and electric vehicles might be refueled, same location maybe, potentially. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got a Hyundai Kia Genesis recall to give you guys. We are hearing that Jeep has taken a little trip out to the desert, and they're going to put on display a few of their concept vehicles. Nikola is really getting heavy into the hydrogen game, and I think they've got a winning situation here. We'll talk about that. Nissan's coming out with some new vehicles this year, or maybe next year, or maybe not next year. Who knows? We're going to find out about it. We're going to talk about the EPA and much, much more right after this, guys. Hey, everybody, welcome into the podcast. Thank you for joining us. My pal Keith over there. We're coming to you live from the studio this time. The last two podcasts have been elsewhere, so good to be back in the studio, my friend.
Hey, everybody.
Much, man.
For those of you just joining us, thank you. And this is a podcast we call The Counter Show.
It is.
We talk about mobility-related topics, but really anything is fair game. Get into music, get into pop culture, get into, cars, EVs, motorcycles, bicycles, one-wheels. I mean, I don't know. We've gotten into some weird stuff. TV shows. But I consider us kind of gearheads leaning towards pop culture entertainment.
Anything with propulsion, man, I'm good.
So there you go.
Anything with propulsion, I'm good.
Oh, Jay.
So
migrated
my
podcast app over to the new YouTube music app. And it's it's done okay. So for those of you guys that use Android, if you didn't know this, probably by the time this is out, Google Podcasts will have gone away, and they are moving everybody over to YouTube Music. And so I just literally pulled open YouTube Music the other day, and it prompted me with a little, hey, do you want to migrate all your podcast subscriptions? And I said yes, and it got them. So, yeah.
That's great. Way to go, YouTube, Google, for
not pooping yourself.
Making that happen. I mean, I think, I mean, it actually, because we were questioning what this transition might be like and how it would impact us and other of our, our colleagues in the industry of podcasting. So thanks so far for keeping us going, keeping us alive, helping us grow. So the algorithms.
So I got to do this. I've turned into you, Jay. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I was at an automotive show, I guess last month, and do you like my hat? Do you like my hat?
I do like your hat.
Do you know what that logo is?
It's pretty cool.
When I tell you, you'll kick yourself. It's Brembo. You know the brakes? Yeah. So it's actually
Brembo
a nice
brakes,
hat. Yeah.
It's hard to see because something glitchy is going on with your screen, so it's kind of like
we're trying out some new streaming platform stuff. So,
and I guarantee you, and thank you for saying that, I guarantee you, give us about 2 to 3 tries with this new platform, it'll be flawless. I mean, the intro was a little long today for good reason. We got a lot to talk about, and it's hard to kind of cram all that in a very quick intro segment. But anyway, we don't want to run you off with all the what's coming up in the podcast, but there's some really exciting things to talk about today.
But back to me for a second. So
Yeah,
I got to do
back
this
to you,
because
Keith.
I told the guy I would do it. Now we've done trade shows. We've all done trade shows. You've done them. You know, by the last day of the trade show, you're like done, right? Like the last few hours, you're like, man, how soon until we can tear down? So there was this guy. He works with Brembo. He's in sales. He was holding court, right? These guys were coming up to the booth, and basically it was, what will you do for a hat? And there were people singing. There were people, I mean, doing some entertaining things. And so me being me, I just went, all right, well, I'll mention it on the stream. So if you give me the hat, I'll call you out on our show. So that's what I'm doing. So Andrew Fieros, who is the sales manager for the Western North America aftermarket for Brembo, gave me this hat. And I said to Andrew, I said, I promise I will wear this hat on the show and call you out. So that's what I'm doing. Andrew, thank you for the hat. And you guys, if you are interested in, I don't know if he wants me giving out his contact info or not, but Brembo makes good stuff. I'm a fan of their brakes. I have them on my bikes, motorcycles. I've had them on various high-performance automobiles. So not only do they make good brake components, but they make good hats. There you go.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Brembo. They're always at SEMA, seems like. So there you go. I've used their product in the past. How about you?
Like a big fan.
Yeah, big fan. I like their I like their calipers too. I like their rotors. I like them all. But the sad thing is for me, man, I can't find anything on their website for my particular vehicle. So maybe I'll reach out to them and see where they're at with that. Yeah, if Brembo's not making the brakes for it, man, that's not a good sign, dude. That is not a good sign. So there you go. There's your other plug. Gosh, man, before we get into any of this stuff, it's like we're in the middle of March Madness right now, which I know you're not the greatest fan of that, but something is about to kick off, which I know that you are a big fan of, and that would be baseball. Baseball is coming into full swing. Late this week? Late this week, right?
I literally was just trying to sneak off camera here for a second and get a drink of water and maybe fix my glitch, and you bring up baseball. But yes, we are very close to opening day. Pretty exciting. And
yeah. Oh. Any predictions for this season?
I'm really just trying to become more of a fan of the sport in general, and I'm a little I mean, I'll always be a Cardinal fan, but
of course,
without turning this into a sports talk program, there's been they've made it difficult for fans like me to really stay immersed in. There's just some questionable decisions the past couple years, and so we'll see where that goes. I'll always be a baseball fan. I'm coaching with kids again, Jay. I don't know if you heard that or you just inadvertently, but a good friend of mine talked me into coming back, and like we like working together, and it was one of those and now of course Sideshot's jealous. He's like, I think why are you not? Why am I not? And I went, well, it was your choice, man. So, but I'm sure you had a point here, and I've just completely derailed it.
No, not at all. I know you love baseball, and that's why I was bringing that up. And it is let the long season begin. I'm pretty stoked, and I'm kind of a Mariners fan just because of where I'm located these days. But I'm really true to heart. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, but on paper the Mariners look to be loaded this year. So we shall see how far they get. Or even
and that's the thing, man. Like
this year, so
it's a long season, like you said, and lot happens that you don't expect, and that's sort of the beauty of it. Is how do you manage through that, right?
Right. Absolutely true, man. So let's go ahead and move on into some of the topics of the discussion. Keith, I don't think we disagree on this one. I think you and I both are, and Toyota's going to come up a lot in this podcast today just because of a few things that, their business model and their plans for their future, we picked on them a little bit about, where are they at in the EV world and that sort of stuff, and we'll get deeper into that. But this particular topic that we're bringing up is it's twofold things, which is, the compact pickup truck market, which, we discussed when Ford brought the Maverick in, and then of course, Hyundai brings in that what is it, Santa Cruz, and these are unibody pickup trucks, front wheel drive or all wheel drives, and they're fun, they're useful, they're practical for certain people. If you don't have a ranch or a construction company, obviously this would work fine for you as a smaller vehicle to haul things around. So, but Toyota has, as you've noticed, they've kind of grown the Tacoma. It's bigger now. They've grown the Tundra. These vehicles are not small pickup trucks anymore. So they've introduced a couple of things. It could be called the Stout. We don't really know, but it's what they call the EPU, which I would assume stands for electric pickup. It's a concept vehicle, but they just, revealed this thing at the Tokyo Auto Show. It is an all-electric pickup truck, and but it looks like it's very close to what it may in fact look like as a production vehicle. And they're hinting that around 2026 we might be able to see these things go on sale.
So this is the portion of the program where I attempt to crash my computer, but yeah, this is what it looks like. Yeah. And wow, you said this. I'm going to give you credit.
Yep.
You might as well go ahead and say it again to everybody. This looks like a what? Yeah.
It looks like a Rivian.
It really does.
It really does, and I don't have a problem with that. It's a good looking body style, no doubt about it. But one thing that caught my eye though about this thing, look at the wheelbase on that. See how far back those rear wheels are on that thing. It's pretty interesting. But it overall it's a bit shorter than the Tacoma. I think that the the Tacoma is about 213 inches over long, whereas this is 199.6. So that's not that much longer, but it is definitely shortest of the three pickup trucks, or the two pickup trucks that they offer. For certain, it's not a full size and it's not a mid size. This is a compact. So, and they are definitely going after that compact pickup crowd and going after Ford and also Hyundai on this thing. There's not really been any technical details released on it, but what we do understand is that there could be an all-electric version of this, which I feel that this is what we're seeing here today. But there's also talk of a potential hybrid truck as well. There's been hints that Toyota was going to be bringing in, maybe a couple of different pickup options, smaller pickup or compact pickup trucks for 2026, 2027. So that's kind of interesting that they're going to go that route with this particular one. Obviously, they're hanging their hat on the Tacoma and the Tundra as far as the internal combustion engine versions go. I'm pretty excited for Toyota here with the EPU because I think that it's going to really give them a jump start into the electric vehicle market as well. Don't know what the price is, don't know anything about that, but my expectations are it's not going to be any different than any of your other smaller electric vehicles that are on the market right now anyway. So, and then what? Rivian. Rivian just revealed the R3
and,
or whatever it is.
I just don't see Toyota going all EV. Why would they? They have not done that on anything else. It wouldn't make sense for them to do it on the truck. Maybe, could be wrong. Our track record's pretty good on this program,
it is. Absolutely agree with that. And they're right now Toyota is really, they're toying with a few smaller concept type vehicles, and like a small Land Cruiser, supposedly a smaller, and I think somebody had hinted to the name and just calling it a Land Hopper was a nickname for it or whatever. But that coupled with the Stout and this EPU, so and again, we're just speculating on what the name will be. The name Stout was very that pickup truck was very popular back in the 60s and 70s, so it wouldn't surprise. Everybody else is bringing old names back, like Ford with the Maverick, and it used to be a car, and now it's a pickup truck. So, yeah, we'll see what actually happens with this thing. But and to talk about the battery electric stuff, they were a bit slow coming out of the factory with any electric vehicles. And Keith and I have talked about this on many occasions. What Toyota has really been hanging their hat on has been their hybrid vehicles. I think their hybrid line, what they offer for hybrid options, far exceeds what anybody else is doing out there right now, in my opinion. And later in this podcast, we'll get into some of the new EPA standards that have come down that really works in Toyota's favor. Because of the emission standards, when you look at, manufacturers have to put out a certain number of certain types of internal combustion engines, hybrids, and if they meet the goal of allowable emissions, based on the regulations that were just released, they could win out with the hybrids. And so we'll see what happens with that, and we'll get into it a little bit deeper here in just a bit on the EPA standard changes and whose favor that works in. So anyway, so good job, Toyota. Keep it going. We'll bring you more news as that comes along. God, I feel like we could probably spend an entire episode on Toyota alone.
Oh, maybe honestly. We should.
Well, we could do that. Hey guys, leave us a comment leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, whatever. Tell us what you want to hear about. We'll be glad to talk about it. So,
and by the way, I know you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. The source recording's fine. We're pushing, literally taking a car out for a test drive, and I've just made the decision to keep the pedal pegged to the floor and see how long it takes to catch on fire. So,
right. The fans be working overtime right now, guys. And we're not talking about you fans. Yeah. We're talking about our fans on our equipment, so that you, the fan, can have a better experience. We continue to improve what we're doing. We're trying to anyway. So every once in a while, you're going to see some glitches here and there. So it's all fun. It's all good and fun,
what
right?
What could possibly go wrong?
So what could possibly go wrong? We shall find out. So, man, we talked about this about 2 years ago. This is the Shell oil. Obviously, very familiar, iconic company. They're everywhere. I mean, we're not talking about just here in the U.S. They are global in China. I mean, they're everywhere. Anywhere gasoline or petrol, as you want to call it, diesel or whatever, is used, any fossil fuel, they are involved in it. But they are also smart to realize that they can't hang their hat on one tree. And so they've gone out, and looks like they're going to be closing more of their gas stations and or converting them into EV charging stations. And basically, this is what Shell put out there in a report in its energy transition strategy. Says that they announced that they were planning to divest 1,000 of its retail gas stations, including joint ventures, between 2024 and 2025. The company said this move was aimed at reallocating those resources towards EV charging stations in response to customers' needs. And that was reported by Bloomberg. Shell had already put an investment out there, a global investment into EV charging, as we had discussed on a previous podcast, Keith. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, right. We said it, right? And they said that, I think that by the end of 2023, Shell Recharge EV charging division was operating around 54,000 public charge points for EVs at various locations across the world. This was up from 27,000 in 2022. That is nearly double the amount of charging stations in just 1 year. That's insane. And, you know, I'm glad to see them, you know, investing into that because somebody has to. And there's been other companies out there, ChargeWay, ChargePoint. I mean, the list goes on. And obviously, Tesla has expanded their supercharging division. And, you know, guys, don't be distracted by the green background that Keith now has. Evidently, you know, he's one of those guys that is not happy with
like I said, dude, I'm over here with the pedal to the floor, just totally trying to break stuff.
He's changing, man. He's changing. But so to further this about Shell, they have big plans, they say, for the remainder of the decade. They want to install around 70,000 public charging points by 2025 and around 200,000 by 2030. Again, what we're talking about now is really, when we talk about the new EPA regulations and how the Biden administration has kind of come back off of, they're basically not pressing the pedal on the changeover by 2030 from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles.
What? Wait, what? I'm pretty sure we said...
Yeah, that's right.
It's not going to happen. Like GM coming out and doing all these...
It's not going to happen.
Proclamations that they're going to be all EV. And you guys that just love to hate on us because we're too EV friendly, now is your moment, because this is one of those where we've repeatedly said, like, we're agnostic. We're just calling the shots as we see them. They are not going to be able to, for so many reasons, go all EV. And the least of which right now is you have automotive companies coming out and going, we're taking huge financial hits to build these things. And I know this is, you know, Shell is seemingly going in the opposite direction by converting a bunch of their existing gas stations into EV, but I don't think so. I think it's a balance. I think they're trying to strike a balance, which is really what we have said from the beginning needs to happen, right?
we've always said that there are purpose-built vehicles, and there will always be purpose-built vehicles, and I don't think that you'll ever see the internal combustion engine completely go away. I can't see that happening. I think that you're going to have two things going on in the future here, which is obviously as generations change, as we evolve, our needs change, our desires change, and our focus changes. And I wouldn't say that my dad or any of my uncles or aunts or anybody like that weren't mindful of the environment. I mean, they're part of the recycling, generation. They started recycling. So it just goes without saying that I think by default, eventually, you're just going to see the needs of the consumer change. And that's what will eventually dictate what's going to be on the road, period. Where an electric vehicle is the perfect and ideal component to your lifestyle on an everyday standpoint, but then you might want to go cross country and would prefer to have something that you can just put a tank of gas in and fill up and go and not have to worry about stopping and charging somewhere. I mean, it becomes a purpose-built vehicle at that point. And the bottom line, who said it best? Optima Jim said, when we were talking to him back at SEMA a couple years ago, he said that we don't need our politicians dictating what we drive or what we can do with our vehicles. We don't need them dictating that. And this EPA rollback, if you will, on the mandates is a fine example of the Biden administration listening to the automotive industry, and the automotive industry saying, hey, we need to come up for air here. You guys are killing us with these mandates. Something's got to change. So basically, with the EPA regulation changes, you've got a longer period of time to transition from point A to point B. And I'm going to stretch it out even further. I think it's going to take another good 10 years for us to see the numbers that they're even saying right now of electric vehicles. That percentage completely change over to favor electric vehicles versus gas engines. So. But hybrids are going to win, man. I know.
So,
thank you, Bert.
I'm just going green screen for this one. I think I've figured out what's going on. But I'm just, I think it helps you to see me wave my arms around, Jay. I don't know.
It did. It absolutely 100% did, man.
Yeah. So again, balance, right? Like this is the thing, and I'm gonna we'll move on. I'll leave this alone. But I want to understand. Leave us a comment, you guys. What is it when you see a post of something that you oppose? And I'm talking the EV versus the ICE and, or e-bikes or whatever, man, or electric motorcycles or whatever. What is it in you, everyone, that goes, well, I got to tear that up. I got to shoot that down. I got to torpedo that guy's fun. I got to pee all over his party. And for me, I'm sort of like, okay, yeah, that's not for me. Like, I don't know that I'm ready to buy one of those things yet, whatever that is, right? Whether it's an EV or whatever. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I mean, that's kind of how I approach everything. But to have that extra level of sort of energy to watch somebody else burn, like, why do you need to go out there and go, well, that sucks? And it's like, that's how we get innovation. Like, let these guys go out and let a whole bunch of people go out and buy first generation Teslas. I'm sure we will learn some stuff from that. I'm sure a lot of it will be valuable and good. It can't all be bad, right? But help me understand why the whole like massive revolt to anything that's different,
Well, true thing, but by human nature, Keith, I do believe that when you tell someone that they can't anymore, that really rubs them wrong, and I think that's where our government went about this the wrong way, and sort of telling people, mandating certain things. So
but that is not the car company's fault. Everybody, that's a good point, Jay. That is your politicians, and that is where you vote. And by the way, last time I checked, you can't vote on Facebook. So you guys that are having all these political arguments on Facebook that are going absolutely nowhere.
So true.
Good luck with that. But put the people in charge, like Optima Jim said, that are gonna push the innovation, and that's usually not your politician. I don't know. I'm just one guy out here. I don't know. I mean, whatever. That's
No. That's fair, and fairness right there. It's extremely fair to say that we all have a right to our own opinions and everything, but don't just squash somebody because they prefer to drive an electric vehicle. So that's their choice. Everybody has that right to have their choice, and so there you go. And again, we've said it before. It's the future is eclectic. It means everything is on the table as far as I'm concerned. And we've been saying this for a long time, that it will probably come to this where they're going to have to back off of some of these mandates.
I like riding horses. Doesn't mean I have to own one. I've even, dangerous territory here if I admit this, I've ridden a moped or two. They can be kind of fun in a stupid way. I mean, I wouldn't own one, but I'm not going to... If you want to go buy a moped, go. I mean, what be you, man? I'm,
right.
I mean,
I owned one once.
They have their place, I guess.
I've been known to ride a moped or two, man. Back in the day, when they first started hitting the market here in the U.S. I'm telling my age, but anyway, they're kind of fun. They had a purpose, especially if you didn't have a driver's license.
Now we're getting into incriminating territory.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next, Keith? What's on the agenda? What else we're talking about?
And if you haven't seen our go out to our YouTube channel and check out some of the shorts. If I can get through this without like lip tripping. Sideshot really helped me out at the Electrify Expo Orlando show a few weeks back. Man, I was sick as a dog, and he was
did
out
a great job,
literally jazzed up and ready to go.
He was working for us, man.
The Kia stuff that I saw at that show blew me away. And so you can see some of that on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. I think most of it came out in form of shorts. But these guys at Kia have not stopped innovating. They have not taken a nap. They have not taken any time off. And they are pushing the envelope. Now, with that, I mean, the old adage, I guess, you gotta make an omelet, you gotta break a few eggs, right? And I'm not trying to make light of this. I don't know if anybody's been seriously hurt or injured, but we've got some recalls going on from Hyundai and Kia and Genesis, which are essentially all the same company on a bigger scale. And
right, and it revolves around the integrated charging control unit, or what they call the ICCU.
Yeah, which most all devices that charge things have. And basically, and I'm oversimplifying this, but it's to keep that device being charged from turning into a bomb and burning your house down or something like that. Right,
exactly. So we're talking about the NHTSA recall number 24V-204.
Wow, you're getting exciting now. Let me lean into the
yeah.
Wow, here we go.
Yeah. And the manufacturer recall number, which is going to be Hyundai Motor America, which also consists of Kia. That's 257/021G. So there you go. If we can we might put that link up there on our website somewhere. But basically, it involves a lot of their electric vehicles, almost 150,000 over damaged integrated charging control unit, or like we said, the ICCU. This includes Kia. This includes Genesis. They're saying it includes the Hyundai Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, the Kia EV6, the Genesis GV60, and the electric version of the GV70. Easy for me to say, and the G80, guys. So basically, what's happening is they're losing propulsion, they're losing power as a result of the unit not charging up. And so it's losing power. And so how do they deal with it? Well, they just get it back in, just like any other normal recall, and they update either the component, and you can get into the depths of what the plan of attack is here with, as you see here on screen. Keith is rolling through that, and we'll put a link to this for you on our website, or maybe even in the description of this podcast video. So they will recall 98,000, almost 99,000 models from the Genesis luxury brand. Like I said, the affected vehicles include the 2022 through 2024 Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6 from 2023 and 2024, Genesis GV60 and GV70, G80 from 2023 and 2024. And Kia is also recalling nearly 50,000 of its EV6 from 2022 through 2024 as well. Dealers will take the opportunity when they recall this thing in and you get it in, they'll inspect and replace the ICCU and its fuse, along with performing a software update for the ICCU, and it will be done free of charge. And you guys that are owners of any of these vehicles that are mentioned should be getting a notification somewhere around about mid-May or later. So take heed, grab it, and go to your dealership and get your repairs done.
At a quick glance, I didn't see anything older than a 2021 in that list. So if you have anything older than a 21,
that's right.
You're fine. And they're going to be busy with this for a while. I would not expect that you're going to get right in. It may take months to get through all of these, depending on how busy they keep those dealerships. But look, this is not. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't bother. It wouldn't bother me. Like first of all, if it's not charging today, you're going to know that, and you're going to be able to, you might have to have it towed, but you get it fixed. And if it's a that's basically where they're going with this, is they want to head it off before it becomes a problem. I don't know that you guys need to freak out and run to the dealer tomorrow, but just get it in line in the next month or two. You'll be fine. This is not a big one.
And as with any recall, this is, from a liability standpoint, they're taking precautions, and it could just be on a select, range of their vehicles that they produced. But to be on the safe side, they will go ahead and update everything and just, eliminate the issue. And here's the other thing that's really cool about this, Keith, and I think you appreciate this too, is that we are hearing more and more about software updates being pushed to these vehicles, not just electric vehicles, but you're also having the same thing happen on internal combustion engine vehicles that have a huge amount of electronics on it. Software updates are becoming the norm, and this is another reason why service centers are not as widely proficient, I should say, as maybe the average service center used to be. And when I say service center, I'm not talking about the dealerships per se. I'm talking about a well-rounded shop that has a slew of great technicians on hand. But with the ever-changing and evolving automotive industry, the technology that goes into these things, they have to adapt to that, and that costs a lot of money. So some of the shops are just refusing to just outright work on some of this stuff. So just be mindful of that when you do purchase
an entire
something.
Podcast, by the way, which we should get into, because that is not as far-fetched as some of you that just heard those words come out of Jay's mouth might think. Like, we are going to face a time very soon where some of this stuff, dealers are going to go, yeah, I'm not doing that. Take it to a different dealer. And it's coming, guys. I've already seen it. And so here we go.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, no doubt about it. It is there. So, yeah, be careful. I'm going to give you a piece of advice that my dad gave me many, many years ago. If you have your car worked on by a technician, back in the day they called them mechanics, but there are technicians these days because it's more than just a mechanical side of things. They get into so many other things. But my dad always told me, once you find one, you need to get to know them like they're your doctor. Yeah. So treat them like a physician. When you find a good physician, when you find a good technician, stick with them, because they are hard
Otherwise,
to vet
you
these
end
days.
up with guys working on your stuff that throw 5 gallons of hydraulic fluid in the compartment and tell you good luck. I hope you make it. And that's a story for yes.
That's a whole other podcast too, and we will be getting into that. So we're just getting our feet wet back into the studio here. So we just decided to bring you guys up to speed on some of the latest breaking news in the automotive world. So this was one of them.
All right. So everything else is working, Jay. It's just the green screen thing for now. So I feel like we're at least making progress here. Like I said, pedal to the floor. The car hasn't caught fire quite yet. So
exactly, man. Exactly. So let's talk about what's coming up in the desert, man.
Depending on when you're listening to this, I guess it's Happy Easter. I don't.
Right.
I mean, you got to give these guys at Jeep credit. Like they're gonna try everything they can to get some media attention whenever they can for any reason, including Easter. I guess I don't.
Well, I mean, it's like I think they have to do this because the Jeep brand, the Jeep line, I mean, it's people really don't want to see it evolve any more than it has. I think that if you talk to a Jeep lover, that Wrangler, man, they don't want you. I mean, take it back to where it used to be, but try not to change it too much, man. So, but apparently, some of the stuff they are. But here's what I like, though. There's nothing better than seeing the retro, right? The throwback stuff. So I got to give them credit there, because a lot of this stuff is very retro. But anyway,
So what are we talking about here? Go ahead, Jay.
4 new concepts. Four new concepts that Jeep is going to reveal at the Easter Jeep Safari, which is going to be held in Moab. They like to get out to the desert for these things. And as you see there, for those of you who are watching the video, the first one, I found this very amusing. It's the Jeep Vacationeer concept, and you got that right. That's 2 E's. That's got to be a play on the Wagoneer, of course. And if you look at the interior, you know, you could say what you want to say. I do not like that, man. That's
late
pushing
70s, baby. It's
it's retro, right? So basically, the Wagoneer is being tapped into here for this concept, and it's called they're dubbing it spearminted, which is the color of the paint there. And it's also got, if you see it's a very small wood grain pinstriping there down the right profile of the vehicle. You know, so again, more homage to the
God bless these guys and their R&D dollars that are just out here spending money on stuff that it's like, let's just do this and like throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Like, I don't know of too many other I guess my point is Stellantis has had their share of financial challenges lately, and yet they're not tightening the purse strings on R&D in terms of their concept vehicles. You know, like, you don't see Ford doing this. No. You don't see GM doing this. Like, they're few and far in between with their concept stuff. But here we go with not one, but, you know, we've got 4. The next one is this, where is it here? The Wrangler Lowdown, right? Which is kind of what you were saying, Jay. It's like, I want a little bit of my old lower 40 kind of stuff, but I want to modernize it. And
that's right. And it's nice to see with this one, at least, right? What it looked. I could drive that. I could have fun with that. What do you think it cost them to put one of these concept vehicles together per vehicle? Just guess. I would say definitely, you know, on top of the original vehicle cost itself. This is in addition to that. They're dumping at least $100,000 or more into these things, man. With R&D and, you know, the amount of time and personnel that they put into it. I would say the price tag on that particular vehicle right there is probably going to be in the $150K range, easy. If you were to put a price tag on it, but because it's a one-off, it's going to be worth even more if you were to take it to like a Barrett Jackson or something like that. So it's hard to kind of put a price on that, but they're spending some dollars on that. Here's what's cool about these vehicles, though. When you see them come out with these concepts, all it does is it breeds new ideas, correct? It lets a guy know, hey, we can do this with this Jeep, man. I mean, for example, on the Vacationeer, which is the Wagoneer, the openings in the wheel wells to accept those larger tires, man, it can be done. So you're going to have a person like, you know, our good buddy Neil Chen, who likes to just mod up just about everything he can get his hands on. This is like right up his alley, man. Give me the cutting torch, man. Let's go. You know, give me everything. Give me the Sawzall. I'm cutting fenders, man. We're going big. We're going large.
And did you see that some of the guys doing that are from their former SRT team that was now defunct?
Yep.
So those people are still around.
Yep.
They're just finding ways to mess with cars in other areas of the company.
Was it you that were telling me that Stellantis just basically invited 400 of their employees to a Zoom meeting?
No, that wasn't me,
but
I did hear about that. And that's
wow.
We may have to dig in. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Jeep is owned by Stellantis. So there you go.
Welcome to Earth.
They've been cutting a few right. They've been cutting some fat, trimming some fat because this whole EV push has really put a wrinkle in a few things. So they got rid of the SRT. But here's the thing, man. When we were at SEMA 2 years ago, and they were talking about we're getting rid of all of our internal combustion engines, but everything there were all internal combustion engines. I'm talking Jeeps, Chargers, you name it. Anything that they produce was there with a gasoline engine in it, and they were not holding back. But with the new EPA thing, you kind of got to wonder is, are they going to go back and say, the heck with this, we're going to delay this even longer?
Well, wouldn't you? I mean, these things are selling.
These
I mean,
Hemis out, man.
They're, yeah. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
definitely,
here's the next
man.
one. So we got.
Go ahead.
The Gladiator Rubicon high top concept. Speaking of, like, let's just keep it. This one I can see actually making it to market. Like, I can see this coming out here. Because it's got just enough of that 70s retro kind of vintage kind of feel, like kind of Ford did with the Bronco. The Car and Driver here that we're looking at called out the old honcho. I can see that. And they got that color thing, that was kind of big in the 70s and all that.
Yeah. I mean, it looks good. It's it's an attractive looking vehicle, and if you look at what they've done to this thing, I mean, it's really, I mean, the bumpers, are very minimalistic, if you will, but they serve the purpose, which is what you want on an off-road vehicle. Obviously, the concept here is completely off-road. I mean, it's
yeah. I mean, you got
look how big those tires are.
You got that crowd that's like, I want a convertible. I want a little truck bed. I want, I want to off-road.
Those are 40s on that, by
I
the
want
way.
big tires. And, 75% of those people will never take them off pavement. But, I'm not here to make fun of you or call you out. You be you. I'm just I'm just saying. Yeah.
Now, here's the spec on this thing, by the way. It's got the engine is mated to a Torque Flight 8-speed automatic transmission.
Sure, because why not? Let's just make it as big and stupid as we can, right?
Right. It's, that is the torque is, distributed to the Dana 60 front and rear axles with matching 5.38 to 1 gears. Then, like I said, it's got the 40-inch tires on it, 40 by 13.5 R18, all-terrain BF Goodrich is on there, man. And, I mean, just, oh, wow. Okay, 18 by 9. Satin black KMC grenade crawl beadlock wheels. Beadlocks are important when you go off-roading, guys. That's a pretty important feature. AccuAir adjustable suspension. That's pretty cool.
So beadlocks. But hold on.
I avoided mentioning.
For those of us that don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So basically, you have, again, I'm oversimplifying. I welcome your comments on the video. But
absolutely, yeah.
You need a way to keep that tire from spinning on the wheel, and they have literally almost sometimes there are bolts that go into the wheel that lock the bead that are part of the wheel, but also go through the tire. And think of it like little screw holes all the way around the tire, and that because the tire's going to twist if you're stuck, if you're rock climbing, and it keeps it from slipping on the wheel.
That's it. Bead lockers are very important.
And the more you know. I need that sound. The more you know.
Yeah. The more you know, yeah. Sadly, it's only equipped with that 3.6 liter Pentastar V6, but that's all they got in their wheelhouse other than going to their Hemis. Which, hey, what was the other one?
The one right before this had
the Wrangler. The lowdown has got the V8 in it, 6.4 liter.
Yeah, I mean, 407 horsepower on a
who doesn't want that out on the
Okay, I'm sure. Right. Why not? Right? Like we said, sure. If you want it, you go.
Yeah. So the last one that they're revealing is the Willys Dispatcher concept, which I always like going back to the military feel. And it does kind of look like it's got a bit of a military feel to it. Let's see here. It's Element 115 green paint. Let's see here. It really doesn't look much different than the Wrangler. But it's still, I love that Willys embossed hood you have there. Wow, it's got 36-inch tires. Mounted on 16 by 7-inch white wheels. So
there's your
that
Willys,
to me,
right.
That's the one thing from an aesthetic standpoint that when you look at this thing, it's like you can see that it's pretty retro, man. I like it. I would drive that, except I would probably want to go more with an OD green.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that green color on this one. I think you change the color on it, and it's a completely different appeal. I agree.
Yeah, and this, by the way, its propulsion system is Jeep's 2-liter plug-in hybrid 4xe propulsion system. Delivers 375 horses and 475 feet torque.
Like, they're never going to... I don't know. I say never. I don't think they'll try to sell that. I think that's just, let's see what we can do.
Probably not. Well, it is. Again, what have we said all along, Keith? I mean, all of the OEMs recognize this, right? They recognize the fact that there is more money to be made on accessories than there is the accessories and service than there is on the vehicle itself. Did I just grow?
You don't like that view? I'm just.
Oh, I don't care.
That's all I do, man. I just click buttons. I'm just here to hold the pedal to the floor, guys, until something catches fire.
Hey, let me just say this: everyone out there, welcome to the experiment.
I mean, we are professionals. This isn't completely done without safety protocol, but at some point you do kind of have to figure out where your limits are.
Right. Now, this next story. I find it to be very interesting, and I think that the timing of this is so important when we're talking about the EPA mandates rolling back and allowing manufacturers more time to research and develop these new propulsion systems and these platforms. So, while GM's trying to figure out why they stuck so much money into battery plants and not producing vehicles yet. I'm still waiting on that Hummer. I'm still waiting on that other Cadillac, and I'm just not seeing any of their stuff around regularly. Like
I've seen Lyrics, I've seen the Hummer EVs, but that's because I'm here by the battery. Where are they being built? Exactly. And I talked to somebody yesterday. Well, in fact, I talked to my oldest son yesterday about that. He sent me a picture of a Rivian R1S, and he said that's the first one he's seen, which I was really surprised. Those are like, here, you guys want footage? I'll go down to the lot, and there's 25 or 30 of them sitting on the lot, like 2 miles from me.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. We're having all kind of technical difficulties. My foot stand is.
I feel like
moving on.
This is a Cabbage Patch Kids moment, Jay. Like, I've got access to the Cabbage Patch Kids store from the 80s. You remember when they would drop them out in the mall stores and people would be like, I heard tomorrow they're gonna, and like, I've got a whole ranch full of Cabbage Patch Kids in the form of Rivian R1Ts and R1Ss at the Rivian dealer down the street from me. I should just start a side business and buy Rivians from Keith.com and I mark them up 10 grand and have them delivered. I don't know. I'm just, okay. I digress. Yeah.
Right. So that's so funny, man. We've talked about this before about, what might be a more viable solution to emissions out there. And, everybody's got a good idea, right? But I mean, this technology is nothing new really. But hydrogen is a good solution for that. And I think, for me, a company like Nikola,
So the company that we thought that made the Badger, that partnered with GM, that was in a whole lot of trouble a couple years ago, and their stock basically went down to penny stock. And their Trevor, what's his name, got caught filming trucks that he said had propulsion systems that didn't. And I mean, is this the same company we're talking about? And they got a new CEO in place, and we went, boy, these guys are screwed if they don't do something drastic or radical, right? Well, here you go. It looks like they've done something drastic and or radical. Yeah, and they're, as we've talked about before, they were very big into the long hauler vehicles. They're talking about not only electric but also hydrogen powered vehicles, and this is interesting. And I mean, the story itself says it. Nikola's Hyla stations
are a supercharger moment for the hydrogen trucking, and I believe that. HYLA is basically a portmanteau of hydrogen and Nikola, the two words together. So it is a defining moment for them. And if everybody looked at Tesla like they were crazy for their superchargers, right? Now Nikola's they're working in the hydrogen refueling stations. Now, obviously, this is in California, where we're seeing most of this footage and this information come from. They have been testing this for quite a while. The bigger point to this whole conversation is that they are developing a network of hydrogen refueling stations that are just not for the Nikola vehicles.
Yep.
It could be for anybody using hydrogen. And we've got another company, Hyundai. Exient, I think, was one that's also being tried in California right now.
And they're working on a standard, which is important, because if we've not learned anything, and this is, I guess, we get into these themes on this program, and it's like they just kind of fall into place. And some of it, I think, we subconsciously work out, and we just, I don't know. But anyway, one of the things that we've learned from EV charging is, Tesla's got their standard, and then you've got everybody else, right? And so how do we, and then here's 12 different adapters that come with your car so you can try to charge it everywhere. And that is not good. That is not good, right? So standards are not necessarily a bad thing. We have them in other areas of our automobiles. The fact that they are trying to start with a standard here so that like you said, they're not just only able to to refuel Nikola's own vehicles, but some of the Toyota stuff, some of the Honda stuff, some of the Hino stuff, like all of it, right? Consumer cars, big rigs, right?
Hyundai, Hino, Toyota, yep.
That's fantastic. Props to them for thinking this through.
Yeah, I think and look, nothing happens overnight. You have to go through a period of, research, and then, followed by more development. Because without the research, you won't develop new ways to create a specific component or eliminate a component, even in certain cases when it comes to this stuff. So they are slowly but surely refining the hydrogen fueled vehicle market. And this is just a good proving ground. Let's face it, California is probably one of the largest entry points into the U.S., so there's a lot of ports on the West Coast, and those ports are looking to go, carbon neutral or greener, if you will. And this is a step in the right direction for these units that do short hauls. Now, some of these vehicles, they say, especially the Nikola vehicle, can get up to 500 miles on a fuel tank of hydrogen, which is pretty admirable, I think. And, a lighter load, they said, or if you're going bobtail without a load, could get up to 700 miles. Here's the thing, though, and this is the kicker. While they look to standardize this and put up hydrogen refueling stations in specific locations, where do they put them? The big truck market, the big trucks, their routes are pretty, where they're going. So it's easy to know where you want to put a refueling station. Main arteries, main thoroughfares. So where the truck stops are at, that's where you put hydrogen refueling there. But when it comes to the automotive side, if it's an alternative fuel, like the hydrogen fuel, like we're talking about, it might be a little bit more difficult to figure out where you're going to put those refueling stations, because that's kind of the predicament we're in right now with charging stations. Of course, charging stations you can put just about anywhere there's access to electricity. So there's one advantage over a hydrogen refueling station. But it's going to be interesting to see how far we get down the road with hydrogen fueled vehicles. I think that it's going to do far better on the commercial side than the automotive side.
I'd do it in an RV in a heartbeat.
Well, that's a different animal. RV, I agree with you. Let's face it, automobiles don't have the space, period, to hold some of this stuff. Just like we're having the argument about how much the vehicles weigh with the batteries now. You know, there's a lot of differences between a commercial vehicle and just an average everyday usage vehicle. So, you know, they got some hills to climb to get there. But I think this is the bigger thing here is that I'm happy to see that we are definitely making the efforts to at least go down the path of seeing whether or not a hydrogen fueled vehicle, whether it be commercial or automotive, is worth going down that road. And I think it is worth going down that road. Yeah, I see hydrogen being a bigger part of our future,
it's fine,
obviously,
man.
than it is now. So
I'm turning into you.
I'm good with it.
The future is eclectic, but I think that is the way to go. I think settling on one particular mobility platform is a terrible idea. You know, that's
right.
This is not the 1980s anymore. You know, unleaded gasoline is not the only. You know, it just isn't. Like, we've proven that. If nothing else, we've at least proven now that we can get around with other power platforms. So why not continue to, you know, that in a way, this is what made Apple great under Steve Jobs, is they would put things out there that were innovative that nobody else, that many times people said that'll never be adapted. Nobody's going to adopt that technology.
Absolutely.
And sure enough, you've got hospitals using iPad tablets. You've got, you know, all these great things that are happening as a result of some of the stuff that they innovated, the phones and the music players and all that, right? So before that stuff came out, who knew if anybody wanted it? There's a little bit of risk there. And yeah, there's risk, but how else do you get somewhere without taking that risk? I mean, somebody's got to.
That's it. I mean, if you don't try something, then you're going to be stuck in the rut, and we don't need to be stuck in a rut. We need to continue to improve on what we're putting out there. And obviously, the bigger part is, you know, I don't want to go all in and say save the planet, but definitely make our living environments a lot better, our breathing environments a lot better. I think that's key. So, you know, I commend companies that want to invest into these type of technologies for down the road. And again, like I said, I think that this will be a bigger part of the picture than we realize at this point. And look, who knew 20 years ago that Porsche would be putting out a four-door vehicle?
That's a great point. Like, what? Or Lamborghini doing an SUV? I mean, if you showed
or an electric vehicle.
If you showed up in a Porsche board meeting 20, 25 years ago and you go, guys, I got an idea. We're going to sell four-door cars. You would have been laughed out of that room
and SUVs
so fast. And yet look at the sales on that thing, man. That Urus or whatever, that Lamborghini, I will admit, I saw it and I went, do we really need this? Do we really need this? Well, apparently somebody got stupid amounts of money that they need a Lamborghini and a family SUV. Why not have both in the same vehicle? I would contend with that if you've got enough money for a Lamborghini, you've got enough money to also have a third car that could act as your... But clearly I'm wrong on that one, right? Because they're selling a few of them. The same thing with Jaguar. They have got their I-Pace and their F-Pace and all, right? So that's a fantastic point, right?
Who knew?
Sometimes you got to take some risks and you got to be radical.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into someone who needs to take some risks.
So all right. I'm going to try to set this up a little bit. And so here is the
I'm good. You've got some passion behind this, so I'm going to let you roll, baby.
So I'm probably going to catch hell for this because for a lot of reasons, least of which is that Nissan's North American headquarters is here where I live. And I have friends that work for the company, and you can't ever say bad things about, but and I know they tightened the stadium and all that, and there's a lot of money that they put in the community. Those are all great things. I don't have a problem with Nissan. I've owned Nissan stuff. I owned a 370Z Roadster. I've had plenty of their stuff. I like it. But they're in trouble right now, guys. And if you are not willing to admit that, you're you're delusional. And so this kind of started, I would even argue that it started before Carlos Ghosn got arrested and you know, imprisoned and all of that. He coined a concept that was really frugal engineering. You know, he had a term for it, but they were just built just good enough. And the problem I think that created for Nissan was that they are now in a longevity game against companies like Toyota, and they are not, their reliability is, Nissan's reliability has not been anywhere near what some of their competitors is. So a peer of ours in the creator space industry, Jay, you know who this is, who spends a lot of time on covering the Asian markets, has pointed out, and this is him talking, this is not my idea, but I have seen this. I've been in a lot of rental car places lately. I've rented a lot of cars lately. And I rented a Toyota Tundra a couple weeks ago, took it to Florida. It was kind of fun. Anyway, I digress. You know what I've seen a lot of on those rental car lots? Nissans, Pathfinders, Altimas, you name it, right? Fleet cars.
I just rented a Murano for
so the
2
peer
weeks.
of ours that I mentioned has pointed out that selling a bunch of fleet cars and doing well in fleet sales is usually an indicator that you're in trouble, and I would agree with that. And I'm seeing a lot of Nissan fleet sales, and I think the reason that they are having to do that is because their consumer sales side is struggling. Okay?
Right.
And so this is where, okay, so I'm calling attention, we're calling attention to the fact that they're having some trouble. And after the Carlos Ghosn thing, like there was this weird, like they split the, like it was like a leadership by panel kind of democracy kind of thing. And it's like that wasn't working. And then they...
And further putting a wedge between the North American market and the Japanese market as well, the Asian market.
So what has happened over a slow burn of 4 or 5 years now is sales have just declined, and they're in a situation now where, and I looked this up before we did the show, and I was like, well, why aren't people buying Nissans? And I went and I started looking at the data, and I looked at the sales data, looked at the government, you know, the United States, you know, all the sales data that we have. At this point, it's a year and a half old by the time we get it. But it is based around that reliability. And anything that Nissan has done in the past 5 to 7 years, I'm talking about the Pathfinders, I'm talking about the Altima. Oh my God, if you've got an Altima that's 10 years old or newer, just good luck. Like the reliability rating on that car is at the bottom of the basement, okay? And that's not me talking, that's the data out there. And so what if I were CEO for a week, how would I fix this, right? If I'm the CEO of Nissan, fresh out of my instrument case from overseas or whatever, and I'm trying to get this back on track, what do we got to do to basically not go out of business? And I think number one is you got to look short term, and number two is you got to look long term. And you're going to have to play both fronts, and that's very dangerous, right? Fighting a war on multiple fronts is usually never a good thing, but they've backed themselves into a corner. So, so number one, you have got to start building better cars. They've got to be more reliable. I'm not saying they're trash. I'm not saying they're trash. I'm saying if you compare them to Toyota, if you compare them to some of the Hondas out there, those are the... When people don't buy a Nissan, those are the two car brands that they tend to go to next. Toyota and Honda in the United States.
Well, right. And you know that you'll see most other manufacturers, they're refreshing platforms quite regularly. And let's get to that because I know that's where you're going with, you know, they're resting on their laurels is what they're doing.
Okay, if you can't make them all if you can't boost the quality on all of them because it's going to cost too much, pick one. Okay, start there. Maybe the Altima is a good place to start. I'm just saying. That is literally the biggest dog you guys sell. Okay? Fix it. Make it reliable.
Right. They could cut, you could cut bait with that thing as far as I'm concerned.
If you want to go after the whole SUV family, you know, okay, Pathfinder. Okay? Let's just, you know, pick one, right? Yeah.
It's a sedan. It's a four-door sedan.
It's got to be durable, okay? Then, okay, so that's the long-term part of this, right? Like, that's not going to happen until somebody's owned one for 4 or 5 years, and they're like, yeah, I've had very few problems with it. And then word gets out. And that sort of takes a while to catch on. In the short term, which is what you just pointed out, Jay, and we've got a Car and Driver article that links to this, you gotta release some new product. Because if you can't sell on quality, what do you sell on? New, shiny objects, right? Brand new shiny things.
Absolutely.
So let's go revamp our car lineup, and let's give some brand new polished turds to everybody that nobody else has for a while until we get the reliability thing worked out, right?
Yeah. That's it.
So what do you know?
That's absolutely correct.
That our audience needs to know about that lineup that could be happening.
Well, according to Nissan...
Did I take it too far with the polished turds comment?
Oh, hell no, my friend. Hell no. We are definitely on the same page there. I knew your passion towards this subject because we've talked about this. This has been a long-running conversation that you and I have had for years about Nissan and their lack of ability to innovate and get out there ahead of their competitors, which they have failed to do so miserably. They even had a shot with the new Frontier, and as good of a truck as it is, they still just did not shock the world with that thing. Am I right? Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that? That Frontier was just, not anything that I would write home to anyone about.
I reviewed one.
Yeah.
And you can tell, you can always smell the Nissan fanboys that like have worked for the company or they're, mechanics, because they literally will defend that thing to the grave. Oh, dude, they were chiseling your head, man, so hard about that. Not those a bad comments, truck. But you were just given an unbiased. I just said if I'm going to spend the same amount of money, I'm going to go buy a Tacoma, unless I'm going to get the two-wheel drive version, in which case I would get the Nissan. And that's literally the summary of my 20-minute review, right? And I got like So how dare you? This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, just you name it, right? Like, yeah.
Oh, they were even pointing out that you got like the name brand on the stereo speakers
that matters,
wrong or something.
Right?
Man, I was like, what? Because that matters, yeah. So, in a nutshell, Nissan, as you guys can see, those of you that are watching, we have it up here on the screen. If you're not watching, Nissan is planning to launch 7 new models and refresh most of its U.S. lineup.
Pretty sure they're not going to look like what's in this picture, though. Just going to go out on a limb there. Yeah.
No, I'm certain of that. They are also planning to refresh 78% of its U.S. lineup, is what they're saying. So just from a figurative standpoint, there you go. It's a 3-year business plan. You'll also see 30 new models launched around the world, they say. Which plays into that if you go short term, like he said, and then play long term as well. But they really, really do have to start doing something here in the U.S. to save this market, I think. And let's just put it out here for you. Nissan is looking towards the future, as we're saying here, with a new 3-year business plan that involves launching 7 new models in North America. The company says it will also refresh 78% of its existing lineup, as we said, during that time as it prepares for more electric vehicles, which is something that we hadn't talked about with them. They have what? The Aria and they have the Leaf.
Yep.
Those are their only 2
and the Leaf's
full,
been
battery electric vehicles,
majorly revamped.
Quality.
And they were one of the first into the game, and that was under Carlos Ghosn's direction. With the Leaf in the EV space, I mean, they were right there with Tesla pushing the envelope, early EV adoption. This is good. They've got to do this. If they don't come out with new product, they're done.
Right. Now, again, we have been kind of relating all these stories today around the EPA standards, right? Now, here's where Nissan can really gain some ground. They currently do not offer a hybrid vehicle. They offer the Aria and the Leaf.
We know that they have been working on some R&D for hybrid because we've talked about that on this program. It just has never made it to a production vehicle.
It hasn't made it to it. Now, here's what they say. They said in their statement that they plan to launch plug-in hybrid models and a system called e-Power, which we spoke about in previous podcasts and videos a couple years ago. that powertrain features a gas engine that acts as a generator. Now, remember that what we were talking about the highly efficient internal combustion engine? Nissan is the one that cracked the nut on the most efficient running gasoline engine out there, and it's for its purpose, which is this right here. It powers electric motors, and which alone will drive the wheels. And like I said, as it stands, the company has no hybrid or plug-in hybrid options in the U.S. Now, here is how they can help themselves, and that is go all in on hybrids of some sort, because they are the EPA regulations are mandating you're only allowed a specific amount of emissions out there, right? So why not just have a large combination of hybrids and gasoline, and then work on, say, 1 or 2 electric vehicles like you already have done, and really, really, really refine those 2 electric vehicles. So they can really, in the long term, gain some ground. Thank you to the EPA for lowering the emission over a period of time. It's weird. If you read the emission standard, it's really tight emission standards.
Just right before we do, let me put a bow on this Nissan thing, okay? So, this is, I'm going to be real specific here, because, again, I'm only CEO for a week. I got a short amount of time to fix this, okay? You guys at Nissan, please listen, okay? If you're going to do this hybrid thing, which it sounds like you are from what Jay's seen, and I'm convinced, okay, and from what we kind of know from behind the scenes, this is what you have to do, okay? If you can't get 75 plus miles of range out of a gallon of gas, you're wasting everybody's time. Now, let me explain. Okay, so the way these things are, from what we've seen in their R&D, what you're basically doing is they've created a very thermally efficient engine. It produces good amounts of power, but it's very stable. Think RPMs that don't go up and down a lot. They just stay constant, right?
Right.
So it's a generator.
Very controlled.
And you are recharging your main power source, which is probably some sort of battery, right? You have got to be able to take a gallon of gas and produce 75 miles of range out of that gallon of gas. If you don't, it's pointless. You're wasting your money. Nobody's going to buy them. They're overpriced. We already have fully electric vehicles, fully battery BEVs. Don't do it. I think they can. I think the technology, we have the capability, but if you're not getting 75 to 100 miles of range out of these plug-in hybrid, whatever you want to call them, hybrids, they may not be plug-ins. I may have misspoken there. Then you're going to fail. You're going to fail, and you've wasted your time. So that is the recipe. It has to happen. Everybody get to work. Come back and let me know when you've got it done.
Right. Yeah. They're good idea, man. Good one. CEO of Nissan right there, guys.
I'm right next door. If you
right
guys
there.
Need me
That's
for
what
a
we
week,
need.
We'll make it. Yeah.
We need a leader. There's your guy right there, guys. But oddly enough, man, they're saying that they're looking to the company globally plans for 53% of its new models released in the next 3 years to be electrified, while 47% will be gas powered.
Electrified doesn't mean all electric, you know.
Exactly. But as we have stated, that by going hybrid, not only does it allow you, depending on what type of a hybrid it is, right? If you have a battery pack, that gives them the opportunity to work on their battery offerings, right? So the battery technology, again, that's the bigger nut that has to be cracked, and that everybody has really been throwing a lot of R&D dollars at over the last decade, to be where we're at about right now. We're still struggling to get there. And again, the EPA is giving them some grace to extend that R&D time frame, allowing them to be more eclectic with their offering, if you will.
Yeah, let's talk
Make
about
sense?
this EPA thing. So this is not just a benefit for Nissan. This is a benefit for all North American United States auto manufacturers, okay? Because it's a U.S. government thing. Now, again, I'm going to go back to what I previously mentioned on this program, you guys, if you're not subscribed, you can find our podcast links over on our website at partscounterguru.com. There's a actual tab that says podcast links. And you can, of course, find us, the video version, over on YouTube at youtube.com/partscountergurus. You guys got to be careful here, because if you come out and you stick your stickers on the gas pumps that say, I did this or whatever, and you want to rub somebody's
right.
nose and poop, then you can't have it both ways. So you have an administration right now in the United States that is softening the rules for the auto manufacturers, and they are not going to force them to go all in on electric vehicles too soon.
Would you please tell them, too, that how big of an impact on the economy that is?
Oh, you're talking by soft... Oh, well, okay. Well, there's multiple...
Huge.
You have the number?
No, I don't have the number.
Right, okay.
But I'm just saying that I think that it is a broad statement.
You're allowing the automotive manufacturers to continue to sell vehicles that are more profitable, which then translates into their continued growth, which means more jobs, which means more supplier jobs, which means all the things that go into building a car, right? Versus which we already know it takes fewer people to build an EV, all right? So just from a short-term economic standpoint, this is huge, okay? It's allowing the manufacturers in the automotive industry to continue as planned for a while and take a breath and continue to build what they've been building and not stress out, but also do some R&D going forward. So it is huge, yes. But you guys, look, again, it's got to be eclectic, okay? Let's not go spike the football in the end zone that we had a rollback. It's a good thing, okay? But we can't stop the progress. We got to continue to do the innovation and not just completely be solely reliant on the old way, okay? It's a win. It's a win,
absolutely,
for sure, for a lot of people.
It is. I'm looking at some numbers
so the
here.
Specifics.
Let's get to some of this. So the Biden administration slashed its target for U.S. electric vehicle adoption from 67% by 2032 to as little as 35%. And that is after industry and auto worker backlash, started stewing. I think you saw, too, with the UAW strike, that had an impact on this as well. There are so many things here that under the surface, this is not just an announcement. This has huge economic impacts to this country, and in fact, actually globally, it has huge impacts. So the EPA instead adopted a technology-neutral regulatory scheme that allows automakers far more freedom to meet emission standards with gas-electric hybrids, which many environmentalists have opposed as a half measure that delays the EV transition. I think that those guys that are over there beating that drums, you got to be all electric. You got to go all electric. You got it now. You're not living in reality, people.
Optima Jim said, stop letting your politicians decide, right? Make the product, let the free market decide if they want it. Forcing people, this is what you said earlier, to buy something that they may or may not love is not going to be, it's not going to end well. It's not.
Nope.
And I get that. I get that people don't like to be told what they have to buy. I think this is the right approach. But again, you guys, I just want to remind you, for those of you politically that maybe aren't in line with the current administration in the United States, this is a win for you. He gave you what you wanted, okay? So stop being babies. You got what you wanted. Let's do something good with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there needs to be a realization here too, Keith. Like, for example, the EPA is on board with advanced gasoline technologies. Now, when I say that, it's not a different type of gasoline. It's direct injected engines, turbocharged vehicles. smaller displacement, getting as much out of that thing as they can. The problem you have with all of that, at the end of the day, the consumer pays for that, because those types of engines, it's going to take some time to get them to not be as wearable as they are now. And so essentially what you're looking at, they're going to base this on maxing out as much as they can get out of it for what the typical ownership period is for a person, right? Which is typically anywhere around 3 to 4 years. People keep a vehicle at most. That is the truth. It is what it is. So then the manufacturer is off the hook for warranties and stuff if they have a lot of failures at higher mileages. So I think that what they're looking at is, rather than longevity of the engine, which they will get to that because they have done, we have the technology, but with technology and with advanced systems in place, that costs money. That's it, money. And so this is why I'm saying that this looks good. It sounds good for now. It's going to ease up the tensions up a little bit on the forcing the manufacturers to go all electric, when they know that they have time now on their hands to really, really refine their internal combustion engine platforms, work more on hybrid solutions before they go all electric.
Okay.
You got to have all of them.
Let me ask you a question.
Purpose built. Okay.
Besides you and me, okay, present company excluded. And I think some of our listeners will be on board with this too. So maybe excluding our listeners, or the majority of them. How many people from either political party of the two major ones in the United States are going to take a look at this scenario and say, this is good for everybody, we came together on something, it's progress?
Leave a comment.
I mean, I think that's the case here, but I wonder how many people can recognize it.
Yeah. I put something in writing on our I want to see some comments on this one.
And please do not start with the bashing of one side or the other. Just if you think it's a good idea or it's a bad idea and you can articulate why, that will I would love to hear from you. And look, if you're going to troll, if the spirit moves me, occasionally I will troll you back. So be careful, you know?
Yeah. Just be nice. Just try to be nice, people. This is a big deal for the automotive industry. And whether you see that or not, I don't know, but this has a trickling effect across the board for our economy, not just the automotive industry. It has a trickle effect for a lot of things.
My eyes started burning. I'm not crying.
That loaf of bread you're getting.
Tears of joy.
But this impacts the price. This impacts the price of that loaf of bread. This impacts the price of your insurance premium that you're paying. This impacts everything about your daily life. This is why. Absolutely. This EPA rules that just went into effect it's a good thing. I'm not disappointed about it at all. I'm glad to see it, and I know that our colleagues in the automotive industry keep fighting for us, guys. You know,
I have 2 strokes.
We're in full support too.
One of them's for sale if you need a kid's Yamaha YZ65. But
yeah.
I have a diesel.
You have a diesel?
I'm not a hypocrite about this. I'm a hypocrite about other things.
No.
Not this, okay? Like, I get it, guys, but just take the win and let's make something good out of this.
Yeah. I love it. I do feel like my team just won the Super Bowl with this.
Yeah.
Is that,
it's a good thing.
Safe? Yeah. Or your team just won the
man.
World Series.
It's a good thing for years to come.
Okay. All right. And this program was brought to you today by Brembo Brakes.
So, okay, are we there? Is it time? Are we wrapping? Okay.
I think we are, man. I think we're wrapping, dude.
Got an hour and a half podcast out of this.
So,
one.
Can I give a shout out?
No, guys, I'm the only one allowed to give promotional. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Make sure you go to our website, partscounterguru.com, and click on a tab called Show Specials. We've got some great brand partners, guys, and without them, we wouldn't be making this happen. Shout out to Race Ramps, Black Widow Pro, Top Don,
Max tie downs. Max tie downs. If you've got motorcycles or go-karts or ATVs or UTVs or any of that stuff, they have been a longtime partner of ours. Max is a really, really good product, and I can't say enough. It's built well, and they're American. Yeah, it's an American company.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah.
And you brought something up in that last podcast about the colors too. They've just released a new color even since that last podcast. So go check those out. And that's Max. That's MAC apostrophe S.
And I think on the website, if
Max
it's
or
just MACS. Yeah. But
just
hey,
MACS,
the one color they don't have yet, and these things have saved my bacon, is when your RV breaks down and you're towing a vehicle, and you got to take all the stuff out of the RV and tie it down on the trailer that said towed vehicle was previously on, so that you can tow all your crap home. I didn't have the matching tie down strap. They're all hydraulic fuel colored now because it just sprayed fuel all over everything. But they have saved my bacon many times. They're very reliable, durable. And also on that website that you mentioned, Jay, on our show specials, there are actual discount codes you can use for all this stuff. So, yeah.
Which is quite handy. And there you go. So outside of that, make sure you subscribe to our podcast, both here on YouTube as well as our YouTube channel. And we are on wherever you get your podcasts. We are out there, and we are Parts Counter Gurus. You might see us called The Counter Show, which we are as well. Yep. This is PCG Automotive. We are we cover just about everything. Off-roading, PCG off-road.
You guys get the counter show
Overland.
reference? You get the kind of play on words there, right? Like it's a counter to your typical show, but it's also parts. I don't know. I'm just so proud of that.
It's a handy name. But anyway, first and foremost, thank you guys for joining us today. We really appreciate it. But please make sure you tell someone, get them to subscribe, get them to like us, leave a comment. All that stuff helps us, keeps us in the algorithm, guys, and it helps us grow. And I'm telling you right now that we feel the love because we have been growing like crazy, and we got a goal, a tall order to meet towards this year, but we're getting there, and we'll let you in on that somewhere down the road as we're approaching that goal. But anyway, for me, I'm gonna let Keith have it from here because he's always good with wisdom, words of knowledge, a Spock moment, if you will, maybe something like that, maybe even something
you never know, right?
I don't know.
So this one's gonna be a message of gratitude if I can get through.
In the words of Jimmy Dean, sausage.
And I'm going to try to. I've had allergies like crazy, and so the coughing and the eye watering and all that, it is tears of joy. Don't misread it, but it's also probably just allergies. So, thank you guys for tolerating that. So I usually try to end this podcast on a positive, inspirational message. Everybody, if this isn't your first one, you know that today's no different. The message this time, it's not really a quote from somebody famous. It's from me, right? Or it's not even really a quote. It's, if you're not doing something you love every day, stop what you're doing and make some changes. Jay and I have been reminded that life passes very quickly in recent days, and maybe at some point we'll get into some of that. But there's not nearly enough time for the things that matter, let alone the stuff we all waste our time on that doesn't matter. So one of the greatest joys in my life, and again, this is just from experience, has been doing this show and getting to experience that amazing adventure with that guy over there. And it's been difficult. It's always been fun, but Jay can tell you many times it's been difficult. Most of you will not have somebody like that guy over there, but that's my win, and you'll find yours at some point down the road. Okay. Now maybe I'm crying just a little bit. Okay.
Mutual.
But I have no words to really explain the magic that we have when we pull this together. It's just, I just can't imagine a world where we don't get to do that, and it's just literally been that great. So if the show ends tomorrow, and it won't,
it has been,
I can say with all sincerity that I've enjoyed every minute of the adventure, And we're just so grateful to you guys for allowing us to do that and to continue. And we could not do it without all the listens and the views. And I think at every day now, we kind of look at each other and we go, and we look at the numbers and we go, wow. And so we are so grateful to all of you for that. And we do not take it lightly, and we will continue to push the envelope because of you all. And thank you for making us a part of your lives. And Jay, thank you for listening to my crazy ideas at times. And again, I just want to say, go find your crazy, everybody. Go find that thing that makes you happy and do it. And we will do this. Amen. And we will see you on the next one. For my pal Jay over there, I'm Keith. We'll talk to you next time.